Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Underground Path VGC podcast, where top VGC players not in the limelight share their opinions and discussions about the VGC meta and where it's currently going. I'm your moderator, Silver Snorlax, and I am with several people here today. We're going to talk a little bit about the newest topic that is kind of joined the new VGC for season 6, and that is the ban list. That is the hot topic for today. So before I go ahead and get us started, I would like to do a quick round of introductions. Snooze, would you like to start?
Yep, I am SnoozeVGC, or Preston Clark.
Perfect. And Snooze, you brought a friend with you, Taylor?
Yeah, my name is Taylor Brinkerhoff. Online I go by Elusive.
Perfect. And we had Ryson here before. You want to go ahead and say hello?
Hi, my name is Racing, and I'm known as the ally switch genius in some circles. R97 in Showdown probably know me for like spamming ally switch and making your day a misery. And yeah,
It's a brave man.
yeah, thanks.
Very nice. And we've got one more in the chat. We have PokeCme. Would you like to say hello?
Hello, I'm PokeCme. I'm also known as Brandon.
Alrighty. All right. So that's the introductions. The grand total of 5 of us in the podcast today. So what we want to discuss more than anything, we've already seen it. It's already been on all the kind of top websites, and something pretty much everybody with a YouTube channel, we were discussing this earlier, has already posted about this. But Pokemon Company released today that there will be bans for the next season, that's season 6 of VGC, with that tier list being the top 10 Pokemon they took from Pokemon Home's battle data section. So what that includes, that ban list, and I'll read it off here for us, will include Rillaboom, Togekiss, Cinderace, Incineroar, Indeedee, both forms, both male and female, Tyranitar, Whimsicott, Torkoal, Dragapult, Venusaur, Porygon 2, Mimikyu, Gyarados, Hippowdon, Excadrill, and Magnezone. So that list was combined, I believe, with data from both the singles ladder as well as the VGC ladder. So you may see some odd Pokemon in there. But I'll kind of leave this up to group discussion here. Of all the Pokemon I just listed, is there anything in particular that really sticks out to you that says, well, yes, these are all top 10 Pokemon? Is there something here that's really going to influence the meta? What is really going to be missed here?
So, I mean, it's the top 10 list of like the most prominent Pokemon we've seen. I think everything on this list has a huge impact on what we're gonna see from now on. The one that I think is most prominent for me, at least right now, there's 2 of them, and it's Crit Kiss and Dragapult. Those 2 Pokemon have been staples of the metagame since season 1, series 1. And they've been a headache for a lot of people. And by taking out Togekiss and Dragapult, you open up the gate for the other dragons, like Hydreigon, Haxorus, even Flygon, to kind of have like a place now and do something different, which I think will be exciting. Like, I'm excited to see Flygon, or I'm excited to see a Haxorus on the ladder now, and like have it actually be a viable option.
I was really, going off of what Snooze is talking about here, I think it's interesting that now that Togekiss and Dragapult are out of the way, it almost feels like that limits Excadrill's viability on its own. And even though Excadrill's on that list and is now banned, I felt like Excadrill is one of the only mons that really effectively dealt with Togekiss on a game-to-game basis. So even if Excadrill wasn't banned from the list, wasn't on the list, by removing Togekiss, I imagine we would have seen a drop in its usage as well.
And
I feel like
sorry, I was gonna say, me and Taylor were talking earlier about, like, because he uses a team with Excadrill on it. He's used the same team for the whole time since we built it, and he uses Excadrill, and now he's like, well, what still type do I use now? Like, I think that's been on other people's minds as well, as like, the only Steel type a lot of people were using was Excadrill, but now it's gone. So now it's like, do you use Durant again, or is Duraludon gonna be shining once more, or even Corviknight takes that spot? It's gonna be an interesting dynamic.
So yeah, I would like to comment a little bit on that, because given that Excadrill is not anymore, I mean, will not be like in Series 6, you'll be seeing like more Steel types, and with more Steel types you'll also see like the weaknesses of those Steel types. Like Snooze mentioned Corviknight, for example, but Corviknight like also doesn't like to deal with Dracozolt, and we will be seeing like that kind of thing. Also, like we might see like more mons rise up, given that like mons like Rillaboom have been banned, like Gastrodon. I feel like we will have a rise in water Pokemon in Series 6.
You know what I think might be wild though? Like speaking of like Rillaboom being gone and Excadrill being gone, Hippowdon, and you know those guys, I think even Pokemon like Toxtricity, I think has a good spot to kind of come in, and that helps counter things like Corviknight, even things like Pincurchin with less Pokemon. There's no Psychic Terrain setter. There's no Grassy Terrain setter. That Electric Terrain kind of has its way now. So if like people that want to run Pincurchin have that possibility to do so, like I think getting rid of that sort of terrain war and midgetating the counters to it makes Pokemon like that something that can actually be useful.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I imagine that we're going to see a spike in Clefairy usage. I think especially among players who are maybe newer to VGC, players who, because of the accessibility of competitive Pokemon that was added with Sword and Shield, a lot of players kind of joined in during VGC 2020, and with the two most prominent Follow Me users, and Follow Me being a huge part of VGC 2020 with Indeedee and now Togekiss gone, I imagine that either we're going to see a lot more ally switch, which is already very prevalent, or just a lot more Clefairy on teams, so that way people can continue to use those Follow Me strats effectively.
Yeah, I do think that is going to be the case, but mostly with Follow Me means ally switch. Like, while it might be like a really good move, it also I feel like that might also lead like to a return of Raichu and other like lightning rod users like Manectric to deal with it if it.
I could see that. For sure, Manectric is missing its mega form this generation, but Raichu I've seen on multiple teams. I've seen that be very viable. Ryson, you were talking a little bit about some of the Pokemon, especially in terms of weather earlier, and I think that's a big thing here, especially on those water teams and stuff. I think Season 6 for us is going to be a very heavy water team dominated format.
Rain,
if we look back at that,
rain.
Sorry.
Rain, yeah.
I'm reading as I try to talk, and it's not going well. And rain teams, excuse me. I think they will be extremely prevalent in the format. No other reason than a lot of the like very common weather setters have actually hit the ban list. And again, I'm trying to read as I do this here, but Tyranitar, Sand Setter, he's gone. Torkoal, Sun Setter, he's gone. Venusaur, Sun Abuser, he's gone. Hippowdon, ban are Politoed, Pelipper, both forms of Ninetales, and I believe I'm missing at least one more. I think Gigalith is a sand setter, but I could be wrong on that. Feel free to correct me. Yeah, he is. So that there are several Pokemon there that were very vital to team strategies that are no longer there. What do you guys think you will be seeing in Season 6? Do you think it'll be Rain? Do you think Hail will become viable at all? What's the panel think?
I definitely think Rain. Wait your turn, Taylor.
My bad.
He's asking about weather here, all right? I definitely think that we'll see Rain be the most popular thing at the beginning. I don't know if it'll hang on. I think people see like, oh, a lot of Rain checks are gone, so everyone's going to run Rain. But then like they're like, oh, well, we actually have Dynamax and ways to reset the weather, so it will fall off. But it's definitely like 1,000 times more viable than it has been. Because you don't have to worry about Gyarados, you don't have to worry about Dragapult, you don't have to worry about Venusaur, you don't have to worry about Tyranitar. Like a lot of these Pokemon that are at the top of this list were heavy Rain checks. Like Dragapult and Whimsicott themselves could beat Rain on their own. And Whimsicott gets Sunny Day. Like it's just everything on this list checked Rain, and now they're all gone. So Rain is free to kind of do its thing until people figure out how to check it later.
I mean, I would say like Gastrodon is still there. It will probably become even more like popular after like Rain is like really dominant at the start of the meta, and also like we still have Ninetales and Zard, which Zard with solar power can, depending how you play, can like definitely beat Rain.
I would definitely agree, that Gastrodon will definitely pick up in usage, but I think Ludicolo also will. Ludicolo, without the threat of max airstreams from Dragapult and from Cinderace and from Gyarados, I think has a lot more viability to be a Rain abuser, to check the Gastrodon, check the Rotom washes, things like that. It also, like I said, like the only really thing that it has to worry about is Charizard, but if you play it right, then you get Charizard in the Rain, you'll outspeed it because of the new speed mechanics and just blow it off the face of the planet.
Yeah, fair enough. Maybe, I don't know how Sand will do. I mean, I know Gigalith is quite good since we've seen it in 2017 and it was very dominant. But since we don't have like Excadrill anymore, we might see a surge in Stoutland and maybe Lycanroc.
Absolutely. I think we're seeing, because of the drop of how many Pokemon use flying type moves, I think you're going to see a couple of kind of maybe more odd picks come in order to kind of fill those gaps. Because flying is everywhere in the tier. I mean, Togekiss gets a flying move, Dragapult gets a flying move, Cinderace gets a flying move. So there's a lot of that, but some of the more vital checks to some of those grass types are now gone. So looking kind of at like usage statistics now, I see Amoonguss is already pretty high towards the top. It's got close to a 20% usage statistic. Do we think we'll be seeing both Amoonguss as kind of your standard grass type on a team? Do we think the meta is going to shift? A lot of the threats that are now gone were more offensive in nature, but things like Dusclops and Amoonguss, which still sit very high on usage statistic ladders, are still kind of there. So do we think, in addition to maybe the weather wars having shifted a little bit, do you think that we'll also see change in more defensive play styles as well?
I think we'll see more defensive. I mean, Dusclops really, barely survived this in my opinion, just because Porygon 2 rose so much in usage. So I think Dusclops kind of survived that ban a little bit, and Dusclops is still, in my opinion, one of the best mons in the format. And as far as grass types go, I actually think, especially we're talking about, electric types are more freed up as well. I think that Rotom can do a really good job, especially now that you have Dragapult gone, so Dragapult can't check it. Togekiss, even though it wasn't, a max Togekiss could deal with Rotom on its own, because max Togekiss could deal with just about everything. I think that it fits the slot, and especially because I think some of the biggest threats to Rotom-Mow, including Cinderace, Incineroar, and now with Sun being nerfed, while it's still not going to take on Sun teams, I think it'll be more viable just because I think the usage of Sun teams is going to go down, which will make Rotom-Mow more effective, as well as Amoonguss.
So do you think, Taylor, that you might just like revert your team back to like how you had it before the previous series? Because you were running Rotom-Mow.
Yeah, I'm considering going back to Rotom-Mow. I'm not sure yet because I haven't really gone through everything that I want to do, but that's been one of my first considerations.
I feel like we might see like a more similar meta to like what we had in Series 4, where like I saw many people like online on Discord like saying that they might consider like going back to their Series 4 teams because of how like good they seem in paper and how they could work in a meta that is not infested with Rillaboom or Dragapult or Togekiss or like Sands. So given that might be the case, we might see like an interesting meta.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there. Something I was looking at in terms of statistics. Some of the Pokemon that are still fairly high in terms of usage statistic to survive the ban are the new Urshifu forms. Both of them are not banned from the current format. Do you think they will play a more centralized role in the meta going forward, especially when it comes to more offensive teams? They break extremely well due to the fact that they have guaranteed critical hits. Would anybody like to weigh in on the Urshifus?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I talk a lot. My bad. I think the water Urshifu will see more usage with the banning of the Indeedees. People probably won't be feeling like they have to run the dark one just to try to check expanding force. So I think Rapid Strike Urshifu will be more prevalent in the metagame now that the Indeedees are gone. But I think I think it also has to worry about Lapras, it being the big thing.
I do feel that we might still like get a lot of usage, probably more than the Rapid Strike, because like those clubs might get an increase in usage, and Urshifu, like the dark one, like really breaks those clubs really easy.
That's true. I didn't think about Dusclops.
Like every time I make a team, like I always end up putting like Urshifu single strike because like it hits Dusclops and it kind of deals with normal types if there isn't any type of redirection. And on top of that, like it bypasses Protect, so it's a really good mon that it can't be like left unchecked, and it might be a part of the meta going on.
Yeah, I'm with you there for sure. I know we had talked a little bit before about kind of resurgence of like Rotom-Mow or Rotom Cut in particular. I think looking at some of the statistics now, the Rotom forms are still very low in terms of usability right now. A lot of them are below 6% usage. With the shifts now, do you think these Rotom forms are going to come back full force? And if you do, which form do you think will kind of dominate the meta? Wash, Heat, or Cut?
I don't really think that. I mean, I think that they will rise in usage, but it won't be like in past metas where Rotom dominated entire metas. But if I had to choose like which one will be the most benefited out of these ban lists, it's probably Rotom Wash.
I'd agree that I think it's Rotom Wash that definitely benefits the most. And again, I also agree with that I don't think that they're going to dominate. I just think they're going to become more viable. And I think one of the things that Rotom Wash benefits a lot from is actually just Excadrill disappearing. Mold Breaker Excadrill no longer being a threat, and especially with the two top grass types in Rillaboom and Venusaur being removed, I think opens up a lot of paths for Rotom Wash to be not necessarily a dominant Pokemon, but a very strong staple in the next meta.
I would be surprised if Rotom Wash doesn't get up there, honestly. Like, Rotom Wash was like what, at least at like a top 15 mon at the least in like series 3 and 4. Like, it was everywhere. But now, and like, so I would be surprised if it doesn't rise quite a bit with the banning of Rillaboom and Venusaur.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe if it doesn't rise, it's probably due to Sun being like really strong, and people like having another grass type that can really deal with Rotom Wash effectively.
Like, what are the other grass types? Like Serena, Ferrothorn.
Yeah, Ferrothorn might be the one.
Ferrothorn. Yeah, I could see that. Dude, I hope and pray that we don't see the resurgence of Iron Defense, Body Press, Ferrothorn. No. Please.
No.
Yeah.
Keep it away. I don't want to play it anymore.
No, I think with the Rotom forms in particular, because there's so much versatility with Rotom forms, they can rerun a couple different ways. I think early meta, people who kind of jump, high on the ladder quickly will be kind of more of the offensive Rotom forms, something with Nasty Plot, something that's going to kind of break through. Since I think early meta, we might see more defensive playstyles than we see offensive ones. I think Nasty Plot, Rotom Wash is definitely a threat, but of course, that could go a lot of different ways. There's still Amoonguss and Dusclops and Aurora Veil, Lapras. All of those are very difficult to get through and very difficult to break. Although I will note there is one Pokemon here that didn't hit the ban list that deals that I will say either deals with or has a way to break through all three of those, and that is actually Dracovish. He seems to be back and seems to be a potential top contender in terms of offensive pressure. I know since we've lost a lot of Pokemon on that ban list had fairly high speed tiers. I'm kind of looking at it again, and yeah, most of them are fairly high. While Dracovish sits in kind of a weird speed tier a little bit. There are a lot of different ways you can use them. Do you guys see Dracovish kind of rising to power again? Do you think he'll offer those offensive pressures that he used to kind of in series, we'll say 1 through 3?
I think he might even be more threatening now, because without Dragapult, there's nothing that can just naturally outspeed in Oko Dracovish when it's scarfed. Right. And I mean we'll see Gastrodon, but it's not that hard to pair Dracovish with some grass user or some Giga Drain user on your team to help take care of the Gastrodon problem. Like, Dracovish is going to be a threat. It's going to be an absolute threat and an absolute nightmare, and it's the Pokemon that I look at right now and I think this will be the absolute death of me. It's so strong. It's lost one of its major counters, that is Dragapult, and people are going to have to start solely running Gastrodon to try to beat it, or have a specific scarfed Pokemon to try to deal with it as well. Like, it's just going to be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get on about. Like, we could see like Scarf, Ninetales, Alola with Freeze Dry, or possibly Vanillux, I would say, since like it will, if it connects, it will definitely kill like Dracovish. Also, Lapras does get like Freeze Dry, and like Lapras could be a possible counter if it's not Gigantamax.
Yeah, those are all possible things, for sure. So I know we've talked a lot about rain teams in particular, rain, not water or something goofy, rain, um, being pretty dominant in the meta going forward. However, does anybody think or believe that hail is actually more viable now, or maybe can find a certain niche in the current meta? Is there any way Alolan Ninetales can kind of come through and be the star of a show for a team, either on the Showdown ladder or on the Switch ladder?
I really, in my opinion, I don't honestly see their viability changing much. I think because of the frailty of both Vanillex and, specifically Ninetales and Alola, I think they'll still have that Aurora Veil niche that they can do on their own. But I think that teams looking for that, especially with the lack of grass types, I think people who are looking to kind of go that direction will likely just lean on Gigantamax Lapras to set screens and things along those lines. I don't see much changing for the hail.
But I do see though Alola Sandslash being something that could be potentially a little bit more viable, being it's still end ice, right? It's still end ice. I'm not crazy.
Yeah, it is.
It's still an ice. I think being able to have the stab steel and the ice is a good combination. It would help, and I think it also gets ground moves still. I don't remember if it gets rock slide or not, but being yeah, so it has the tools to deal with a lot of threats and to raise its own defenses. Like it has rock slides to help with Charizards, has ground moves to help deal with the steel types that threaten the Ninetales or the Vanillex. It has its own ice moves to deal with ground types that threaten itself. I think if we'll slap a life orb on there, it could be a potential threat for sure. But like Taylor was saying, I don't think it changes the viability of the setters really at all.
No, it doesn't change. If anything, it makes it much more harder to use because people might probably still go with Sun, and Sun is the main problem. With hail, maybe rain could lose against hail, but not Sun, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think for all the metas that we've seen over the past several years, hail has always been the worst of the weathers, and I don't think this generation is doing too many favors for it. There aren't enough natural hail setters. Ice typing is extremely difficult defensively to work with. Offensively, it can be good, but it's extremely frail. So there are a lot of issues still within that hail sphere that problems aren't resolved. Lots of threats have been taken away for sure, but they haven't been resolved to the point where hail will actually be more viable or find that niche a little bit. So something I did want to talk about as I look through our usage statistics here, I see a lot of Pokemon under a 3% usage statistic that in earlier seasons had much higher usage statistics. Snorlax, Colossal, Gastrodon, Conkeldurr, Rhyperior are all below 3%. There are a lot of Pokemon who have really fallen from grace due to the Isle of Armor DLC coming out and really finding hard counters to a lot of the things I just mentioned. Of all the Pokemon that you guys have seen kind of fall off in the last season or two, of those things that have fallen away or fallen by the wayside, what do you guys think you'll see kind of make a big resurgence in terms of this new meta?
So I was thinking about this earlier today, where now that Porygon 2 is gone, and now that Rillaboom's gone, the Rhyperior is in a great position to just strike back. It's gonna have its normal setter for Trick Room and its proc, its weakness policy with Bulldoze, Dusclops. And then those two alone could just win games by themselves if you just set up Trick Room, rotate in your Rhyperior smart, and set off the Bulldoze and you win. The threat of Rhyperior is coming back in full force, and people are going to have to start going back to how they used to deal with it. They're going to need slower Pokemon. They're going to need to run Giga Drain on their Hatterines again, and really team build for the potential threat of Weakness Policy Rhyperior. I think it's definitely in a position to return to glory.
I agree. I think Rhyperior will be coming back strong. I think initially the mon that we're going to see the most out of those lower percentage mons that's going to really rise, I think, is Gastrodon. And I think it's just because it's so easy to slap onto things. If you just look at things at a broad perspective, Venusaur's gone, Rillaboom's gone, Dracofish is going to be better, water types are going to be everywhere because those grass type counters are now gone. I think this first,
I think that these like Series 6 might see like a return to Belly Drum Snorlax paired with Clefairy, because like it has like really good energy, and it might just be another case of Porygon Z, like, which might also like see a resurgence, and like it's a thing with a fairy type and normal type.
I've personally been using a Porygon Z team / Rain team, like hybrid, and
I think they're
this ban right now makes that team better than ever. Like, I just look at it and I'm like, oh, thank goodness I don't have to deal with any of these checks to Porygon Z anymore. I don't have to worry about a ghost type Dragapult or sand or steel. I can just blow holes in things or just soak them and drown them with my Rain team. Like, it's PZ is in the best position it's ever been.
Slower. Trick Room, I think, is way more viable. Yeah, a lot of the offensive presence is kind of been neutered pretty heavily here. So we're seeing, again, those shifts to the defense. To talk about this a little bit earlier, but one of the grass types that went on our ban list here is Whimsicott, and who is like the premier Tailwind setter. He's, Whimsicott's been around for a while and has been very popular in past formats and past years. With him now gone, the main prankster user now gone from that tier list, do you guys see another prankster user really becoming viable? I know some of the faster ones are Meowstic, Liepard. I think Riolu with that goofy coaching move is also a prankster Pokemon. What role do you guys see going forward in terms of
I don't see anything really replacing Whimsicott because kind of mirror each other in a lot of ways, and whether that's Grimmsnarl, Meowstic, they all kind of work the same way. A lot of their speed control is done through Thunder Wave, setting screens, kind of going about things that way. I don't think there'll be anything that will necessarily replace Whimsicott's status at the top.
The closest thing we have to like Prankster Tailwind is what, Talonflame?
Yeah, that's it.
Thunderwave Gang, man. Thunderwave Gang. That's what it's all about right now.
Right. I think we're definitely going to see more Lumberry usage and safety goggles usage going forward, especially on like some of the fire types. I could totally see like Charizard running safety goggles on teams and being viable for sure. So there's that. So yeah, Whimsicott, I think, yeah, he's too hard to replace. That prankster Tailwind just does so much for so many teams, in addition to everything else that's kind of in its arsenal, if you will. So, topic, I was talking to somebody else offline earlier today about the changes in the meta, and I know this has been said over and over again, kind of throughout the years, if you really want to go back that far. But a lot of people have always been under the assumption that if you just got rid of like the top 10 or the top 20 Pokemon used in whether it be OU or VGC or whatever meta you like, if you got rid of them, the meta would be way more balanced. It would be more fun. It would be a better meta. And I've always argued that point with, well, if you get rid of the top 10, then the next 20 through 11 are just going to take the place of the top 10. I don't think the meta will become better. I think it will just shift to the next kind of group that's a little bit further down. By eliminating the top 10, though, I would love to get your guys' opinion as far as to, do you think the meta will become more balanced, or do you think we're just going to have kind of the same meta that Pokemon always seems to evolve into?
I'm just going to 100% agree with you. It doesn't change. I don't think it changes. The meta will just shift. I mean, and that applies to everything, right? I mean, there's a lot of people who dislike VGC or competitive Pokemon in general because they feel it's very top heavy, but that applies to anything in any sort of competition. You can even, use professional sports as an example. If you just eliminated the top 10 basketball players in the NBA, there's just going to be a new top 10 basketball players. It doesn't really balance things anymore. It just kind of eliminates it. So I agree with you. I think it's just going to shift.
I don't know. I would say that in some cases it does balance things out a little more. Like, for example, we get rid of Dragapult, right? That automatically makes all the other dragons more viable. Like Goodra, Hydreigon, Haxorus, they're all relatively close in speed tier. They all have different stats and different abilities, and they can check each other, and they're all good against each other. Like, there was not a dragon that was like, yeah, I'll take on Dragapult and no problem. But these dragons can fight each other and actually play. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a better second tier of dragons versus Dragapult, who was just so superior to the rest of them.
I would like to point out that I'm more inclined to Taylor's position, since I've been playing VGC competitively since 2017. It was my first meta where I started to go to tournaments. And the thing is, at the start of the year, people assumed that it was going to be a really fun meta. People would be able to see different mons. But by the middle of the year, around March, April, people started to become more tired of seeing every time Arcanine, Garchomp, Alolan Ninetales, and probably the more dominant mons, because it felt quite repetitive, and it goes back to the point Taylor made, that it just shifted. It was basically after Talonflame got nerfed, Gengar got nerfed, they banned Dark Voids. Many things suffered a nerf, and others got introduced, the Tapus. And it just it doesn't change. I mean, it changes, but not for the better. If anything, it might change for the worse. And the same people will complain that, we're seeing too much Arcanines, we're seeing too much Golducks, you know what I mean? It's
I know it. I get what you're saying. There's always gonna be people that are that complain that they see too much of the same thing. No matter what you do.
Yeah, I feel because of that, that point, it's not a really good argument to justify the meta being I don't know, unwatchable or unplayable.
But do you think having this ban list, do you think that will make things more interesting for people to watch though? We're getting rid of these top 10, see them every day, all day long Pokemon, and eventually people are going to say, we're seeing the same thing over and over again. But having a ban list kind of at the end of the year here to switch things up a little bit, I think it's great for viewership, because now instead of seeing Rillaboom every game, you're seeing a lot more of Ferrothorn and Serena, or you're seeing like Roserade even to come out and do something, because the premier grass types are gone.
Yeah, I do agree with that statement. However, like as I said, like for all we know, like we could see like Porygon Z like being in every team, dominating the meta, because like that's what wins games. Like we're going to see like more viable strategies that people want to use, like either like their teams from previous formats, or like a new strategy like that. But we might see as well like the dominance of like the other, like the ones that were really good in like this series 5, but they were just outclassed by like the Rillabooms and Cinderace and Dragapults.
I could agree with
Sides
that.
of that argument. Snooze, did you have more to add?
I was just gonna say, yeah, I agree. Like I agree. Like, I'm not saying that you guys are wrong, that there's always gonna be like a top 10 that just kind of takes the place of the original top 10. But I think my argument is that having a ban list periodically, like to shake things up, is good for the metagame and for the viewership as a whole, because we've been using this top 10 for quite a while now, and now we can shake it up, and this is the perfect time for them to try out a ban list when there's no live events, to see how the community will react and how it's accepted. But I personally just think it's a good idea to every now and then have a ban list, ban the top 10, switch up the metagame, get something new in here, and let the people that always complain finally see something different.
Yeah, I would say it is a good thing overall. Like, I'm not arguing like that it's not a good thing, which is a good thing, because like some of those mons like Rillaboom with Grassy Glide like made it really hard to build around certain strategies. Although we still need to see like how does the meta shift to be able to say like, oh, like it's a either good or bad meta, or like it's still, I don't know, like I feel like and criticize the meta or not. Or...
Right. I think the ban list also overall rewards players that are good at adapting to metagames. I think being able to see a ban list and immediately start thinking about how you can adapt your teams or your playstyle to what you might potentially see is a good trait for a good player.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. If any player like should be able to adapt itself like to any changes, like I mean they can still complain like if they don't like it, but if they adapt like to the meta, then I feel it's all good in the end.
Right, absolutely. So yeah, there's so much that goes into this ban list in particular. I know Pokemon as a company is extremely conservative. They don't like to be seen as having made a mistake. So we've never really seen a true ban list before, with the exception of like, restricted formats and stuff like that. But we've never really truly seen a ban list like you cannot bring these Pokemon to play, but they were fine earlier. I believe the reason Pokemon doesn't involve or create ban lists is because they don't want to be seen in a light where like they may look like they were wrong. Kind of to protect their image more than anything. So when I saw a ban list, I was very surprised. I had no idea that it would even consider that. But for some of the reasons that have been mentioned, yes, I think it's a good idea, though. It just kind of helps, not necessarily to balance, it helps to shift, it helps to make things less stale. What happens in these metagames is they start to become optimized, and which is why you get such a top heavy meta. But that's because, you know, that's how metas naturally evolve. You find the most optimized thing, and, you know, occasionally you find something else goofy that kind of, you know, shifts against it, but it's, you know, it's here and there. So my personal feelings, very surprised to see a ban list from Pokemon. Going forward, though, would you guys like to continue to see the Pokemon Company kind of get more involved in terms of the competitive aspects, in terms of not just laying out rule sets and running events, but actually being more involved, to the sense to say, hey, we realize things are pretty strong here. We want to shake up the meta in a way that we think is productive. Is this something you guys want to see going forward, ban lists?
Oh, absolutely. I posted on Twitter that I loved that they did a ban list, and I'd love to see more of them, especially when in-person tournaments come back. I would love to see more of this sort of monitoring the situation and seeing that these things have been dominating for a while, and now it's time to switch that up.
Yeah, I would say that I do agree, like, that it might be healthy in the long term. And yeah, they could be doing that in the future, and like depending how this one goes, in like how, and if there is like no backlash, that the community, or either like more viewers, like they don't like say anything and they're pleased, although like in the end, like I guess it's VGC players who the ban list, and like how you play it, like might be like dependent on how you are able to adapt. It might be like a bit more soft.
Yeah, Taylor, anything to add? Snooze, anything?
No, I think you're spot on.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's. I do have one question though. Is that like what's everybody? Is there like one Pokemon that everybody's been like thinking about? Like, I really want to try this now that these top Pokemon are gone. Like for me, I really want to try Flygon, and I really want to try Galarian Darmanitan again.
Yeah, Flygon is like always the big one. Everyone wants to like try Flygon since we didn't get like Mega Flygon properly.
I really like the idea of Choice Band Darmanitan, because a lot of the faster threats are now gone. That could be a lot of fun. Just kind of break through walls, kind of deal, or kind of be able to pivot. It's a pivot Pokemon too.
Right. Well, I got high 1800s with it in Series 3. But then once Series 4 hit, it was just like I was like I can't take this any farther. Like there's too much now to beat it. But now that a lot of those things are gone, I really want to try it again and see if I can get it to work.
I really want to try out like Gigantamax Kingler.
Ooh, yeah, gigantic. Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
I just want to try out like just about any fighting type that exists, whether that's Conkeldurr, G-Max, Machamp. Now that Togekiss is gone, I feel like there's opportunity for fighting types to try to do something.
Well, Machamp might actually be really cool with Inteleon now, because now Inteleon's the only Galar starter left, and now you can pair that with Max Chi, right? Or Chai, what's it called? And get those focus energy boosts.
Always loved Dynamic Punch Machamp. He's been so much fun. I've enjoyed. He's one of the stats. I think it's special defense. A lot of fun to use, so I'd love to use. It's the right shift in the metaphor, because I believe Conkeldurr is going to just be everywhere. It can use Mach Punch again. It doesn't have to worry about the Indeedee forms. It does a lot of different things. But I've always had a soft spot in my heart for Snorlax. I'd love to see if that could be viable, but I'm not quite sure if this is the right meta for it either.
It could be.
It could be. Toxtricity, I think, is something we're sleeping on currently, but Toxtricity is definitely deadly.
It is like that. The secondary effects of G Max stun. Wait, is it stun shock? Yeah. Either you get paralyzed or either you get poisoned. And then Toxtricity has a really good special attack, so
yeah, for sure.
It's really good. Like,
yeah, he does a lot.
And right now, with like us theorizing that Lapras and water type Pokemon are going to be a big threat, I don't think anything wants to take its G-Max move and potentially get paralyzed from Toxtricity. Yeah. Like, and then even after like it gets done being Gigantamaxed, then it has Punk Rock overdrives. Like, it's so strong.
With throat spray.
Yeah, with throat spray or even Life Orb. Like, I think it's super strong.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. So we've been running for roughly an hour now, guys. Are there any like final thoughts or any other topics you guys would like to touch on? We'll kind of go in order here. Snooze, Taylor, and Ryson. Brandon, feel free to if you want to.
I think my closing remark is just that I'm really happy Pokemon put out this ban list. I think it's a great time to test something like this. I'd love to see more of it, and I'm excited to like finally try out some of these other Pokemon that I've always wanted to use, but never really have been able to because they were just so outclassed.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, I am overall like satisfied, I guess, with the ban list. Now that it happened, like more people will like might have like more freedom to like have like some of their strategies to pull off in a format that is not like heavily influenced by like the top 10. And I would like to see like how that would work out in like official tournaments. And I like the current situation, like we still haven't like gotten information about like whether or not like tournaments like will be made in like as presential tournaments or like online, like for like a short period of time. But I would like to see how like that would like work out in tournaments, like the ban list.
Taylor, any closing remarks?
The only thing for me is I'm just excited to have, something to look forward to, I guess. Metagames inherently, get optimized and, things kind of get stale. And even with this, I believe things will eventually, become optimized. You're going to see consistent themes, but I'm excited to get back into just team building and things along those lines. So honestly, just looking forward to it.
Excellent. Anybody else?
I haven't talked this whole entire time, but I had some notes down, but y'all said the whole thing. The ban list is really interesting. I actually wanted this like on my birthday. I wanted a ban list. The only thing I was trying to speak out is the only thing I'm scared about is still Porygon Z. I'm still scared about. And that's basically it.
Porygon Z is very scary.
I can't even.
Meta shift can change all the time. Somebody will find a way to counter it. Who knows? Maybe it'll be Conkeldurr for all we know. Somebody will figure out a way to make it fast enough to beat it.
Or Duraludon.
Duraludon. There are definitely viable options for PZ for sure. So, okay, guys. Well, that was a pretty good podcast. I enjoyed it. I'd like to thank the panel that came out today to go ahead and share their thoughts. I have been Silver Snorlax. This has been the Underground Path VGC podcast. Thank you all for listening.